Good evening. Before this video begins, Matthew and I would just like to send out a little disclaimer. Rarely ever do we discuss what films we're going to be discussing before we switch on the camera, and as such both of our entries tend to be completely different from each other. However, in the case of today's video, whilst we still haven't picked the exact same movie, we are discussing two films by the same director. So I just figured I'd come out and say it now before someone makes a smart ass comment down in the comment section. I'm saying that as if we get a lot of comments. Anyway, yes, enjoy the video.
Hello everyone and welcome back to the Movies and Milk 30 Day Film Challenge, where today myself and Michael will be discussing the film that we wish we saw in the theatres. This, once again, was a very difficult choice for me to make. There of course have been so many fantastic films from generations before I was even born that I wish I could see in the theatres. But once again we need to narrow that choice down into one film. And so my choice for the film that I wish that I'd seen in theatres when it was originally released, of course given I could hop into a time machine and go back to the 1950s, that film would be Alfred Hitchcock's masterpiece, Vertigo. Alfred Hitchcock is my favourite director of all time, and he is single-handedly the reason as to why I decided to pursue a career in television and film. Hitchcock is undeniably celebrated and beloved throughout the world. He is also regarded as one of the greatest filmmakers that have ever lived. And so of course it is absolutely no surprise that Alfred Hitchcock has been a massive influence on me. Vertigo follows retired detective Scotty, who after a very traumatic rooftop chase witnesses one of his colleagues fall to his death from a tremendous height. The incident results in Scotty being diagnosed with a condition known as vertigo, which in turn results in Scotty unable to stand significant heights. Shortly after his retirement, Detective Scotty is approached by one of his superiors, who subtly approaches the retired Scotty and tasks him to follow his wife, whom he believes to be in great danger, but not from a living person, but of one who is dead. Vertigo is absolutely a masterpiece, one of the many masterpieces that Alfred Hitchcock has created over the years. And although Vertigo is very much regarded Alfred Hitchcock's greatest film, it's certainly not my favourite of his. And so with that mindset, why have I decided that Vertigo would be the film that I would most like to see in theatres, especially back in 1958 when it was first released? Well, Vertigo has an incredibly psychological and supernatural element to it that must have just been such a compelling idea back in 1958. It has so many incredible riveting ideals that to be a part of that original audience back in 1958, that must have been such an experience. The film also experiments with a lot of special effects for its time, namely one of the most iconic dream sequences in film history, where Scotty envisions Madeline within a nightmare, and the themes and visuals of Vertigo are clouding the entire screen. Looking back on it now, obviously it's dated quite significantly. CGI and special effects are now very much grounded in reality, and we can't really tell the difference between CGI and reality anymore. And although those special effects in Vertigo have aged not the best, but to be a part of the original audience first seeing these special effects on screen must have been such an incredible experience. I mean, I remember the first time I saw a Star Wars film in the theatres, and fortunately it happened to be The Phantom Menace, a film that is essentially pretty much all CGI. That was so exciting to me, that was such a thrilling experience. But to be part of the original audience back in 1958, I can only imagine how excited the moviegoers must have been. And of course, given the nature of the storyline and everything that takes place throughout the film, and all the twists and turns that happen, I would very much have loved to have been a part of those shocked and terrified audience members. Still to this day, there has never quite been a film that has had the same effectiveness as Vertigo has had on me. It is truly and undeniably a cinematic masterpiece. Alfred Hitchcock has created some of the greatest films ever made, and I do sincerely hope I get to talk about some more Alfred Hitchcock movies as the month of June rolls by. Anyway, I'm going to pass you back into the very capable hands of Mr. Michael McGorry. Michael, why don't you take it away, good sir?
Thank you very much, Matthew. Now, I went out to make this question deliberately vague. You could have picked a film that you simply missed in theatres, you could have picked a film that went straight to DVD, or in my case, you could have picked a classic film that you simply couldn't see back when it came out because, well, you weren't born. Now, while there are many classic films that I wish I'd seen on the big screen, The Exorcist is a pretty big one, but Matthew already discussed that in an earlier video, so I didn't want to sound like a broken record. For this video, I picked Alfred Hitchcock's 1960 horror classic, Psycho. This is going to sound rather sad, but if I had a time machine, I would go back to the year 1960 and watch Psycho on the big screen with a packed audience. But then again, if I went back to the year 1960, I'd still know what happens in the film Psycho, so maybe I'd go back in time and convince my parents to have me at an earlier age. But then again, that wouldn't work either, because my dad was born in 1960 and my mum was merely just a twinkle in my grandfather's eye. So maybe what I'd do is go back to my grandparents' times, convince them to have my parents at an earlier age, then go 16 or 18 years into the future and convince my mum and dad to meet up to conceive me, and then maybe I'd be born for the release of... But then again, I wouldn't be old enough to see... Time travel's a fucking mess, man. Where the fuck was I? Oh yeah, Psycho. The film from 1960. Now, let me place a heavy spoiler warning for Psycho, a film that is 60 years old, so if you haven't seen it, then it's your own fucking fault. Now, while I won't say Psycho is my favourite Alfred Hitchcock movie, it is infamous for just breaking so many rules back when it came out. They killed off who was seemingly the main character midway through the film. It was shot in black and white and not in colour, just to simply get past the censors, because apparently this film was just too gruesome back when it came out. And not only that, but this was the first film to ever show a flushing toilet. Jesus Christ, I don't think Norman Bates is the psycho in this scenario. I think it's Alfred Hitchcock. A flushing toilet? Are you fucking mental? So this film supposedly shocked so many people back when it came out, and I would give anything to go back then and just see it for myself like a blank slate. But not only that, it's also said that Alfred Hitchcock told cinemas to refuse anyone that came in to see Psycho after the film had started. If you were a minute late for your showing of Psycho, you had no chance of getting in. So yeah, Psycho, I would have absolutely loved to have seen this film on the big screen. If you have not yet seen Psycho, what are you doing? Again, it's not the best Alfred Hitchcock film, but if you're a fan of horror and you've not watched it, come on, man, it's a horror staple. You need to have seen Psycho. Also, the film came out in the early 60s. That means there would be no obnoxious teens on their phones filming TikToks back in the time. Oh yeah, I do rather like that idea. Thank you so very much for watching, ladies and gents. If you enjoyed, please be sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and tell us in the comment section down below, what film do you wish you had seen on the big screen? And also, if you wish to take part in this 30-day movie challenge yourself, you can find the template over on the Movies and Milk Instagram. And until next time, stay safe, don't do anything stupid, and we will see you tomorrow.